Alright, so I just want to kind of cover why you should be doing an aim warm-up or like an aim training thing before you start going into a game. I'm going to have to ignore now Valkyrie's back in the range. But it's something I didn't used to do, and then I started doing it and I did see like my aim getting better. So this is kind of what I'd recommend, and it's kind of like how I go about it. Now, it's not going to be perfect. Obviously, I've just got on. So it's not gonna be perfect, and I'm gonna try not edit this down basically. So we're gonna see how I go about it and what I do, and you'll see my aim will be perfect, but I'll give you some pointers on things to do and kind of warm up exercises to try. So the first thing I usually do is take the wingman with a gold mag and just the holo classic, and I'll focus on these targets. So we'll go for all headshots, and we'll just work until we do a couple of those. So I'll basically, there's no rush with it. As you get more comfortable, you'll find you speed up a bit more. But I just kind of go through these targets one by one. Just trying to practice the headshots, trying to get the aim perfect. Like you'll probably see my aim is pretty potato, and it's not perfect. It's not the best. I'm not saying it is the best, but hopefully this is just kind of like what I'm going to show you to help improve your aim, and what you can kind of do to warm up and get ready for Apex. So usually I'll do this for a few successive turns, shall we say, so we get all headshots. And this is usually like my close range warm up I start with. Like I say, there's no real rush with this. Just take as long as you need. It's really just about getting your precision down and getting used to just using the wingman and stuff as well. Once I'm happy with that, I'll move over to the 99, and I'll kit this out as to how I would ideally want it in game. So recently I've been using the 2x instead. I'd always recommend taking the best mag you can, just to give you like the maximum ammo, really adjust the recoil pattern, because as we know, sometimes the more ammo you have and the more shots you fire, the recoil differs. So what I'll do with this is I'll do a few peak shots. So I'll go for range with this and try control the recoil best I can, and really just trying to add some movement in at this point, and really trying to get those beams on, trying to add some movement in, really just get used to how the gun's feeling today, getting used to the recoil with it for the matches ahead, really. And like I say, don't worry if these aren't perfect. Obviously, the more you do it, the more you'll improve. Like, mine aren't perfect. I've been doing this for a few weeks now. It's definitely going to take a bit of time before they are perfect, but ideally we'll get to the point of being able to just one clip even at range. At close range, obviously we're pretty fine, but when we start getting to the more range stuff, you know, you can definitely see the struggle there. But like I say, you know, this is what it's for. This is why we do it, you know, to get used to the game, get used to the mechanics, get ready for the games ahead, you know, get the thumbs going, get the recoil control sorted, get used to the guns we're going to be using. And especially, you know, if you haven't played for a few days, it's going to be even more important to do this. So I generally just start like warming up, practicing with the different weapons, practicing with the weapons I'm going to be using in game, and we just kind of take it from there. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and that's why we do the aim course to adjust to. I just start trying to add some movement in there, and trying to get used to some game mechanics and stuff to really get used to like moving around and getting ready for the game. So I might start adding, you know, some strafes in there and some more still shots, and of course then you can start looking at your fires as well and trying to practice those as well. So usually the next thing I'll do is take the 301 and 3x and trying to go for range shots and trying to control the recoil at range, and obviously starting to work in some tracking there as well for tracking the enemies, obviously. Recoil, the recoil with the 3 times obviously way more noticeable than if you're using a 1 times. But it's much harder to control and get used to. So going for like the, you know, the top ends over 200s ideally in a succession. At this point, we're working on sort of range and tracking at the same time, and of course, you use the sight that you're most comfortable with. I just like using the 3 times to really try to control that recoil. I just need to grab some more ammo real quick. And obviously play with the different targets as well. We've got some closer ones. We can get over 200, over 300. That's kind of like what we're aiming for. As I said, my aim, you know, I'm still working on myself. You can tell it's a bit potato still, but that's why we're in the firing range, right? That's why we're in the firing range. And you'll see if I change the sights, you'll notice the recoil is much less as well. So as I was saying with the 3 times, it's a lot more noticeable because you're more zoomed in. So when you start putting the 1 times on it, it gets a little easier to control because it feels as though there's less recoil. It's still the same amount, but obviously that less zoom just makes it a little easier. It's going to be all about, with long range, it's all about those minuscule movements, which, don't get me wrong, is quite hard to do with 1 thumb, in my opinion. I find it difficult after all this time playing Apex, so don't worry about it. You know, just do what you can. And of course, I'm still trying to get better. I'm still trying to improve my aim. It's not perfect, and you know, I don't think it ever will be. But I can just try and see what we can do. And then again, just practicing some long range stuff. This time with a wingman. Generally, I'll just go through the weapons I plan on using in game, as a like a warm-up thing, just to get used to how everything's handling and the sort of aiming speeds and stuff, the dip and the drop off, all that kind of good stuff, and just practicing at different ranges with different weapons. And eventually you'll get into your own like habit of how you want to do stuff and how you want to proceed with your own aim training. Obviously I'm doing much better with the wingman because there's less recoil. With the autos, I'm not too great with the 301, I'm not gonna lie, but that's why I'm in the firing range to try get better. And generally I just go through a few of these drills, do them a few times until I kind of feel ready to go into a game, essentially. So I'm going to move on to hipfire as well and talk about hipfire. Of course, I like to warm up hipfire as well. Hipfire is a bit weird. You'll notice on controller though that hipfire, there's a lot of aim assist. I'm not going to lie. We get a lot of people complaining about hipfire aim assist, but it does exist and it's pretty strong. So it's like you can see the aim assist taking over here. I'm literally just moving left and right. If I don't move my aim stick, like that's just aim assist, man. Like that is, you can't deny that's pretty strong. That is pretty strong. So I mean, usually I'll just do a few drills, but if you don't want to, like, if you want to chuck some crouch spams in there and stuff, you can do, and just feel like, you know, getting ready for the games. If you really want to work on your like hip fire and tracking and stuff, you want to practice on the targets like this, and ideally trying to keep it centered. So they're moving back a bit. I'm trying to keep that as centered as possible in that sort of diamond square, I guess. I'm really trying to work on your tracking and your recoil. So a good drill to do is putting on Revenant for the increased crouch speed, and just moving one way and trying to keep that centered as possible to really sort of work on your tracking. And like it's a bit weird at first, but you'll get used to like the tracking and stuff. But that's like without Obviously on console we don't really have aim labs or anything to really try all your flick shots and stuff. So this is kind of the best stuff that I'd recommend. And if you want to take this tracking further, I would suggest you go a bit further back and just concentrate on trying to follow these targets as best as you can. And just working on your tracking at different ranges. And again, trying to keep that dot as centered as possible. And honestly, like, my thumb aches after doing this for a little while. Like, my thumb begins to ache, but you'll get used to it. And just practicing on your tracking at different ranges, trying to keep that as centered as possible. And then obviously adding in some recoil control and stuff as you go along. So that's kind of what I do for, like, my warm-up drills, I guess. And of course, trying to practice tracking, because not everything has to be with just the right stick. You can use your left stick to adjust your aim as well. If I'm out here, I know I can use the left and headshot, you know. So it doesn't always have to be with the right stick, but it's a good few drills to just practice your tracking. And I mean, if you just want to get right up close and really work on your aim, you can take off the aim assist. And of course, these targets have a back as well. So when you're in those close range fights, what you can really do is go up to these targets kind of up close and work on it like this, and just trying to keep that dot as, like, centered as possible. And it makes for, like, a good little tracking drill, because I know on aim labs and stuff we have there's like tracking drills, there's like flick shots, there's how fast you can turn and hit these targets and stuff, and like we don't really have anything like that on console. So this is kind of what I've just like put together, and what I'd kind of suggest. Like, yeah, obviously you don't have to take it word for word. My aim's not perfect, but this is kind of like what I'm doing to work on my aim myself personally. So, you know, give it a try, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's fair enough. But generally, since I've started doing this kind of stuff, my aim has got a lot better. I'm understanding recon control better. I'm understanding all my sensitivity a bit better, and just getting to grips with the settings, especially if you change your settings recently. I'd highly recommend you go in the firing range, do some drills, and really get used to everything. So I hope that helps me, you guys, and that's kind of what I do for my aim drills.